All right, negative numbers, they can be traced back to the Chinese between 200 BC and 200 AD. And when they first popped up, they were considered ugly and unpleasant, but they just kept popping up because they're very useful. They represent a lot of different things in math, and even though the operations don't really seem like they make sense, they really do, and that's what we're going to be doing with integers. All right, but first, let's just talk about what they are. And what integers are the negative and positive whole numbers. So if you take all the whole numbers and take the negative ones of it, you get integers. And they go off in different directions. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the negatives are the reverse. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. Those are integers. Absolute value. That's this little symbol right here. And what it means is a distance from 0. So if you were to go and find 4, how far is it from 0? It's 4. Now let's just say we did absolute value of negative 3. Let's pick a different number than 3. How about 5? How far from 0 is negative 5? So if we count all those little marks, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 as well. Distance is always measured as a positive. So another way of looking at it, when you see an absolute value, you can just say that it's positive. It removes the negative. But it only does it for one number because it's saying how far is that number from 0. Okay, so let's look at our first problem here. It says the absolute value of negative 3. So it's asking how far from 0 is negative 3. It's 3. So again, absolute value, remove the negative. How about here? Right, that's 3. And that's 4. And then you put a plus between it. The absolute value only works for the numbers, not any of the symbols. So you get 7. Alright, so I want you to hit pause on the video and try C and D, and then we'll check and see if you did them correctly. Okay, and so here are the answers you should have gotten. The absolute value of negative 5, that's 5, and then also 5, and the absolute value is 5. The operations just transfer right on down with them, and then we can simplify using order of operations. Over here, this is saying how far from 0 is 5 minus 4. Well, first thing you have to do is find out how far what 5 minus 4 is, and it's 1. And that's why we have the absolute value here of 1. So it's saying how far from 0 is 1, so it's 1. It can only be done with one number. So if you have an absolute value, it does not get rid of symbols or anything else inside. It only takes one number, and we find the distance from 0. That's it. Alright, next thing. This is called opposite, and it looks like this. It has a little minus in front of a parenthesis. And what it means is the number the same distance from 0, but on the opposite side. It's really like opposite. So like if you had $3, the opposite of $3 would be owing $3. Right? If you were 3 feet below sea level, the opposite would be 3 feet above sea level. If you go up 3, the opposite is down 3. It's just exactly what it means. So if you have a 0 and you're 3, the opposite would be negative 3. That's it. So that's what we get is negative 3. Okay, so let's look at some more. What would be the opposite of 4? Correct, negative 4. And that's all it is. That's all you have to do. So just take that number inside and you find its opposite. So basically just change the sign. If it's a positive, you change it to a negative. If it's a negative, you change it to a positive. Alright, here we have something that's a little different. I needed to show you everything. This right here means opposite. This right here is a negative. And then this means subtract. Or minus, however you want to look at it. But it's the same symbol used 3 different ways, so it can get a little bit tricky. But you always want to think about it. If the negative's right in front of a number and there's nothing else, like it's in parentheses or it's all by itself, it's a negative 5. But once you throw any symbols, operations around it, then it becomes either an opposite or a subtraction. So if you read this, this is opposite of negative 5 minus 2. So let's break it down exactly how it looks. What's the opposite of negative 5? That's 5 minus 2. Now you may be thinking, oh, that's opposite. No, it's a minus because it's between two numbers. You could actually get rid of this parenthesis. What is 5 minus 2? It's 3. And that's how you have to look at them. So same symbol, it's a little bit tricky. Look at the next one. You would think, okay, that's a minus and a minus. Oh, so negative times a negative is positive. No, this again is opposite, and this is negative. So if you look at it, it's the opposite of the absolute value of negative 5. So it's saying it's the opposite of the distance from 0, of negative 5's distance from 0. So you can just focus on it. Basically, just come over here, cover it. That's all you have to do is just think, okay, we got to find the opposite of whatever that next thing is. So if we cover the negative, we can think about it. What is the absolute value of negative 5? It's 5. So we change that to a 5, and then now you can put the parentheses back around it and put the minus. So the answer is minus 5. But another way of just looking at it is you just treat it like a little leading negative. And so we already know that whatever is after here, this is going to be a positive, so we know our answer has to be negative. So I want you to hit pause and try D, E, and F. Remember, if you get them wrong, that's fine. We're going to go back over them. But hit pause now. And there are the answers. So if you just covered that little negative right there, you would get 7. So the answer is negative 7. And the same thing, that's positive 3, minus, and then 2. And then this is the opposite of all of that. So 5 minus 4 is 1, plus 3 is 4. Absolute value of 4 is 4, and so it's minus 4. Basically, your absolute value is going to change. That number that's inside is positive. If there's a negative in front, then the answer is going to turn back negative. That's it. Alright. So I want you to think of some real life things that we can use negative numbers, integers, for. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. You can use it for debt. Just the negative. That's all I want to think about. We already know positives because you have 4 cookies or 7 apples. But what different things that you can use, like below sea level? I want you to think of some. You use them a lot. I mean, I've already used the things. Money, below sea level. Think of a lot of different things. Alright? And then, after you finish that, how could we use absolute values in real life? There's another one. So go out. Think about this. What are absolute values? These were created for some reason. It wasn't just for the heck of it. So think about some ways that you could use absolute values. So like if you think about it this way, your balance is negative $5. So then you could say, okay, I owe $5. So we just got rid of it. We changed that little absolute value into a positive. Alright, that's very simple, but think of some creative ones. Alright, thank you.